Il popolo americano ha bisogno di campioni che ci ricordino quello di cui sono capaci.
Jesse, tu sei il migliore.
Sei l'uomo più veloce della Terra.
Come ti sei avvicinato a questa avventura relativa a Race e qual è il tuo rapporto con il cinema? Noi ti conosciamo ovviamente nelle vesti di grande narratore di sport, vorremmo sapere com'è il tuo rapporto con il cinema, se hai delle passioni cinefile nel genere sportivo e non solo.
Il cinema è una delle mie passioni principali. Credo che giovedì, cos'è stato domani, sarai il cinema, una cosa che ho fatto al Sundance, un festival ultimo che c'è stato. Un'opportunità incredibile, non so neanche bene perché mi abbiano chiamato. Poter doppiare con Alessandro Rossi è stata un'esperienza impressionante. Alessandro Rossi, che è veramente un principe del doppiaggio, secondo me le rende di Pino Locchi, mi ha letteralmente portato in 2 ore a cercare di entrare in questo speaker degli anni 30, che quindi non può parlare con una lingua contemporanea e l'enfasi anche diversa. Mi sono divertito tantissimo, mi ha insegnato 1000 cose, è stato bellissimo. Il film è un film che si lascia guardare, è leggermente lungo ma si lascia guardare, è un film che penso avvincerà tanti giovani.
Ok, la seconda invece era le tue passioni cinefile.
Beh, sì, io sono un uomo da 5-6 film a settimana, mediamente. Se dovessi dirti quello che guardo di più in questo periodo è il cinema coreano. Io sono un grande fan del cinema coreano, infatti andrò al Paris Festival e in generale è il cinema che in questo periodo guardo di più, penso che sia la cinematografia più in crescita del mondo. Grazie.
Okay, I'd like to start with a question for Stephan James. How did you get the part? Were you already fond of athletics? Did you run? Did you try the other sports?
Sorry, say it one more time. Can we just, Martin, can you just have them just be a little much more quiet out there, please?
Okay.
Sorry.
I was asking, how did you get the part? Were you already a runner or did you practice other sports?
Interestingly enough, I never had to do anything physical to get this role. No, you know, I auditioned for the role just like I'm sure many other young black actors across the country, you know, really have. And, you know, to me, it was about capturing the essence of Jesse. You know, there was so much I could find on him, you know, sort of running in a bunch of clips like that. So that was hugely helpful for me. But the biggest challenge certainly was, you know, to bring a level of humanity to, you know, somebody who was, you know, larger than life sort of figure.
I read that you didn't know very much of Jesse Owens.
Yeah.
What's the most interesting thing you found out about him?
Well, you know what, even more so than, you know, this incredible athlete that he was, the most interesting things about Jesse to me was just the person he was, the man he was, the husband he was. You know, he took pride in raising his 3 daughters, you know, with care and love. You know, he was a big humanitarian, a guy who spent a lot of time, you know, sharing his experiences with other people in hopes of, you know, inspiring them. And you know, he was just you know, he was a loving, caring person. You know, it's interesting, and it's really a testament to his character that he was able to withstand so much and show so much restraint on a daily basis with his reality. You know, back in the 1930s, and, you know, pretty much throughout the majority of his life.
Volevo chiedere a Federico una cosa, tu stai girando, hai appena finito di girare con un tour nel teatro proprio su queste Olimpiadi, raccontando queste Olimpiadi. Negli ultimi anni ti sei appassionato molto di più alle storie di sport, piuttosto lasciando un po' da parte quello di basket o comunque integrandole con tutto il resto. Secondo te queste vicende delle Olimpiadi del 1936 dove si collocano a livello di importanza per il mondo?
Lo spettacolo farà anche un'altra tournée ancora più grande l'anno prossimo. Quando mi fu data l'opportunità di scegliere un argomento per questo spettacolo teatrale, io dissi non sono dubbio, le Olimpiadi di Berlino. Le Olimpiadi di Berlino dividono la storia dello sport in maniera assoluta, tranchant, c'è la perdita totale della verginità dello sport. de Coubertin realmente muore a Berlino 36. Berlino 36 è una kermesse con un fine diverso da quello sportivo o anche, ed è il paradigma organizzativo di tutte le Olimpiadi. Se i tedeschi organizzano anche quelle invernali, nessuno al mondo ha mai provato a fare 2 Olimpiadi nello spazio di 5 mesi, ma loro avevano una macchina organizzativa spaventosa. Ci sono decine di legami tra le Olimpiadi del 36 e la nostra vita quotidiana. Quella che mi ha colpito di più, se voi notate dalle fotografie, i premiati non hanno solamente l'oro e la medaglia olimpica, hanno anche qualcos'altro in mano. Quel qualcos'altro è una piccola quercia che non è spiegabile oggi, se non che i tedeschi nel 1936 stanno mirando indietro al loro paganesimo originario, e quindi quello è uno dei simboli di Odino, il vertice del Valhalla. Sì, ma l'Italia è la quarta nel medagliere in quell'anno, il che significa che sono state piantate in Italia decine di querce, e ho ricevuto varie fotografie da parte di nipoti di atleti italiani medagliati nel 1936 dicendo questa è la quercia del nonno. Ma questo è proprio lo spirito di Goebbels, che è il padrone delle Olimpiadi, lo dice anche durante il film. Qualcosa che sopravviva agli uomini. Hitler aveva appena incaricato Speer di costruire uno stadio da 450.000 posti, perché nella sua idea i giapponesi organizzavano l'Olimpiade del 40 già assegnata, ma da lì in poi e per sempre l'avrebbero organizzata i tedeschi, che pensavano a uno stadio da 450.000 e probabilmente anche a sport di cui non abbiamo mai saputo l'esistenza. È evidente che quello è un punto dove lo sport devia in un'altra direzione.
Grazie.
Yeah, I have a question for Stephan.
Sure.
Are you planning to already to do something else? Next project?
Oh yeah.
If you can talk about it.
No, top secret. No, I'm working on a TV series now, so an event series for Fox. It's a new show. It's called Shots Fired. So that'll be coming out in the fall this year.
No movies or?
Sure, I'm gonna continue to do movies. Just taking a little break, do some TV. I'm gonna go back and forth. I'll do both.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Voi avete già visto il film?
No.
Stasera.
Stasera la prima volta.
Ok, l'ho già visto.
Già visto? Secondo me è veramente convincente. A parte non semplice, veramente convincente.
First time today?
Yes.
No, she's the only one. She's the only one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm asking, how fast can you really run?
What do you
Because
think?
it's really, it's real.
Convincing
Did I
performance.
look fast in the film? Yeah?
They made it.
I can't tell you any secrets.
What was the? Scusa. No, I think we. What was the trickiest part in becoming the protagonist? The trickiest part?
The trickiest part?
Yes.
The most difficult to make.
Yeah.
Something like.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to be a lead of a film. It's another thing to be a lead of a studio film about Jesse Owens. It's there's so many different layers and so many different responsibilities that I had, as an actor, and I realized pretty early on that I was going to have to give a lot of myself, and it wasn't about Stephan. It was about Jesse and making sure that we were telling that story, to the best of our, abilities. After you work 15, 16-hour days, there's very little of yourself that you get to be with at the end of the day. So, it was a big sacrifice for me, not only, physically, obviously with all the training I had to do to be believable as the fastest man on the planet. And, Fiona can speak to that.
That's the funny part, because the only actor in the room is her. She's the only judge you really have.
She's the only one who really
And the
knows.
only one
Yeah.
we don't know.
So, yeah, she can definitely speak to that and what that whole, training regimen was like. I know, for me, even just having to go through what I had to go through to be believable for the film, I gained a tremendous amount of respect for track and field athletes and what they go through. So, certainly a learning process for me. And then you have all the lines you have to learn as an actor, right? So there's levels to that, huge responsibility. But I'm glad we were able to pull it off.
May I give him a little help on this?
Of course, yeah.
Lui si allena per diventare Jesse Owens mentre sta filmando Selma. che è il suo film precedente, e quindi lui abbandonava il set per andare a correre e prepararsi in maniera decente a fare Jesse Owens mentre girava un film epocale come quello precedente.
Allora, una domanda per Fiona. Questo film racconta forse il punto massimo che si è raggiunto nella storia di razzismo nel mondo dello sport, comunque a livello sistemico, non solo di singoli personaggi. Quanto è cambiato da allora in generale e secondo te c'è ancora un problema del genere sia in Italia ma anche in America? Dove...
lo vedo proprio, questo è stato proprio... Oh, sorry. Okay, I'll do it in English then.
Okay.
There is a bit. We made a big progress from 1936 till now. I think Jesse Owens was a good example of a courageous athlete who actually did what he wanted to do. His dream was to win an Olympic medal, actually 4 Olympic medals, which is the maximum of an athlete would have. Especially he knew he had a lot of responsibilities. So for now we made a pretty good progress since 1936 till now. But there is still an element of racism. Obviously, we're going through a bad point because remember, in 1936 we just finished. We were during the war. There was the economic problems. There was an economic crisis all over the world as well. America was coming out of the Great Depression. Okay, so it was coming out of this Great Depression. We had a lot of problems, psychological problems, you know. He kind of not dampened it, but I think he just kind of proved that if you have a dream and you have an ambition to do, then you should do it. So I think he made it, but it's still valid today, the film, even though we have other problems, as I mentioned before. But racism still exists. It still exists in Europe. It still exists in America. But as I say, there is great improvement. Like you can see in one of the scenes that Jesse Owens went on the bus, and he sat right at the back. You know, there is it has changed, but. There is still an element of racism still now. It's a bit more fine, it's a bit more, how do you say, discreet. But as I say, the film for me was valid then and it's still valid now and hopefully not valid in the future.
Federico, posso chiederti, approfitto della tua presenza da conoscitore appassionato di sport su tutte le discipline. Sicuramente non ci può essere nel calcio e nel basket probabilmente un evento sportivo con quell'impatto delle Olimpiadi del 36, però se puoi dirci secondo te qual è l'evento sportivo che può avvicinarsi comunque nella disciplina del calcio e nel basket, e poi seconda domanda, quale personaggio dell'atletica leggera degli ultimi 20 anni può avere una valenza iconica come quella che ha avuto Jesse Owens, anche in questo senso avvicinandosi, ovviamente non eguagliandola.
Ti rispondo alla prima, magari facciamo fare Fiona la seconda, che Fiona...
Ah ok, Fiona, se siamo ancora
ampia. Beh, c'è il particolare però fondamentale, Goebbels ruba l'idea a Mussolini, e Mussolini nel 1934 è il primo a pensare che una kermesse sportiva possa avere una valenza politica. E non solo Goebbels, se ne accorgono anche i brasiliani, che infatti organizzeranno il mondiale del 50 con quello scopo. Da lì in poi lo sport realmente ha perso la verginità. Io credo che un evento comparabile alle Olimpiadi del 36 non ci sarà e non ci sarà mai più, spero, perché non è possibile che il genere umano ritorni lì, spero proprio che non succeda. Le Olimpiadi del 36 sono così emozionanti perché le vicende umane battono le vicende politiche, in particolare quella molto descritta nel film di Lutz Long, cioè il saltatore in lungo tedesco. Tenete perché in questo momento Lutz Long è una la figura di Lutz Long i tedeschi stanno cercando di recuperarla il più possibile. Per via di quello che ho fatto in teatro ho avuto contatti con la famiglia di Lutz Long, con la nipote, che mi ha detto che la figura dello zio è in questo momento la figura che i tedeschi vogliono recuperare di più. Loro ricevono una richiesta al giorno di poter parlare di Lutz Long, che vi ricordo è sepolto, anche se è una fossa comune, al cimitero di Monte Sant'Anastasia sotto l'Etna, perché lui è morto a Gela nel 1937, gli americani hanno tenuto le ossa e li hanno poi consegnati ai tedeschi quando i tedeschi hanno aperto il cimitero di guerra tedesco in Sicilia per onorare i loro caduti in quella parte della seconda guerra mondiale. Ci sono delle vicende umane quasi irripetibili che avvengono nelle Olimpiadi del 36, forse non le tratteremo nello stesso modo se non fossero le 36, ma siccome sono le 36 c'è un moltiplicatore universale.
Ma poi
una
Fiona,
domanda tecnica,
tecnica, esatto, nell'atletica leggera, quale atleta secondo te degli ultimi 20 anni, dell'ultimo periodo, può avere una valenza iconica che aveva assunto Jesse Owens, magari non la stessa Jesse Owens, ma che ci si può avvicinare?
Ci sono, there's a lot of more athletes who come out like Carl Lewis. Carl Lewis actually kind of equaled what Jesse Owens did. And also I think from now, for the past 6 or 8 years, we would say Usain Bolt. Usain Bolt is coming out with different athlete, different type of athlete. The younger generation, he's actually catapulted athletes on the world stage. Obviously, there's a lot of things in between, like we've seen at the World Champs last year. There was like the battle of the evil versus good between Gatlin, the American, and Bolt. So that was more. You can see the part of it was more entertaining, but for us who were athletes or ex-athletes, who know what's going on, it was something much more important. It was a message to the world. But I would not say none of the athletes. I mean, we have a lot of women athletes as well. Remember, there's women athletes. Like we would say, like if the 1960 Olympic Games in Rome, we had Wilma Rudolph, an American athlete, who at 13, no, from the age of 5 to 13, she had a very, very serious illness that she couldn't run. And her mother took her to, I don't know, I can't remember what city it was, twice a month for at least 10 years to get her well. And finally, at the age of 13, she could run, jump, whatever. And she was in a basketball team for high school, and then she would start doing track and field, and she actually won a gold medal in the Roman Olympic Games. So there are a lot of sport icons, and I think it's about time that we actually know these sport icons. Because not many people know about Wilma Rudolph, what she went through. Like in 1960, we had Bikele, who won the marathon, barefooted around the Colosseum. That was an icon as well. We have someone like in the field events, we have Heike Drexler from Germany, who was a former East German athlete who became a German athlete when 1989, when the Berlin Wall collapsed. There's so many athletes, and also the emergence of the African athletes as well. So the main core at the moment is Usain Bolt. He's actually carrying a small island like Jamaica on the world level, because everybody assumes that Jamaica is not, but it is not the case, because my parents are Jamaican, they moved to England, so I am Jamaican as well. So finally Jamaica actually stopped everybody leaving and started to compete for Jamaica, train in Jamaica, live in Jamaica, and live in Jamaica. So there are a lot of icons, sport icons, that we need to kind of recognise, I think, and not only men but also women.
Can we talk a little bit about politics? Now we are in an unlucky period in the US, because like at the a lot of parties now, a lot of Trump supporters are taking out all the Nazi signs, all the Nazis behavior. What is your? I mean, does it mean that an example like Jesse is still like unknown to somebody, or there's still something to learn from this story, or do you think it's another? There are other reasons about it.
I'm not sure if I really understand the question.
La spiego in italiano.
Visto che comunque nei ritrovi soprattutto dei politici in questo momento della parte politica legata a Trump ci sono state foto, immagini di simboli nazisti, di saluti, e tutto questo può darsi che un esempio come quello di Jesse Owens non sia stato ancora compreso appieno.
All the parties, the people supporting Trump, there were just some symbols of going back to Nazis, like some icons and symbols. So do you think that what would happen with Jesse and his example didn't serve for nothing, since that it seems that not a so small part of a group of people, for example US, seems to be willing to go back to that kind of political positioning.
You know what? It's interesting because, you know, I think that we're never going to live in a perfect world. You know, no one's perfect. We're never going to live in a perfect world. So we'll always have people that have ideals that other people don't agree with, other people think are extreme or outlandish, or whatever the case may be. I think the key is, you know, we gotta. It's so much bigger than, you know, just Trump. There are so many people that think like him. You know, he's just brave enough to say his thoughts out in the open and to share them with the rest of the world. So that sort of feeling is nothing new. I think that, you know, now we're seeing sort of outwards people, you know, joining in, you know, his way of thinking, but there are also many people who protest his way of thinking, and we're seeing rallies and protests and things of that nature. So, you know, that to me shows that there are still people in this world that, you know, won't stand to have a guy like Donald Trump run their country. But, you know, yes, it is true that, you know, that there are still people who have these sorts of ideals. Does that mean that what Jesse Owens did in 1936 doesn't matter, or that it didn't affect any sort of change? No, not at all. You know, I think that Jesse did a brave thing, not only for the sport, you know, for track and field, but for the world with what he did. And he was able to unite a lot more people than, you know, than I think even someone like, you know, Trump couldn't erase what he's done.
No, prego.
fare una what you just Selma did, the movie you did. How do you choose your roles, and how important is that the film you act in are socially and politically active film?
You know, I've made choices obviously that are more, you know, we can see the importance of them more vividly, more openly. But I've also done comedy movies that no one will see, and you know 80s slasher films, you know, that no one will see. So, you know, I do a lot of different sorts of films, and, you know, it wasn't a conscious decision of mine to sort of only make films that had a, you know, sort of political message, or only make films that spoke to racial tension or period pieces. You know, for me, it was just a matter of having two incredible stories: the story of Dr. King and the Civil Rights Movement, and the story of the great Jesse Owens. You know, those are two stories that you'd have to be crazy to not want to be a part of telling those types of stories. For me, it was so much bigger than just an acting experience. It was an educational experience, an emotional experience, a chance for me to learn about my history, about world history, and then a chance for me to take what I've learned and then teach it back to people as well. So it's so much bigger than, you know, than just a job. But, you know, these roles really are important, and they really do speak to people on a higher level, for sure.
So you think that black actors have the same opportunities as white actors in terms of roles during the Oscar So White campaign? Chris Rock said that sometimes the black actors doesn't have the same opportunities, and they are asked just always the same roles. Is it true, or
sometimes women don't have the same opportunities? You know what I mean? So it extends much further than just a black and a white issue. It's much bigger than that. The issue of diversity has to do with ageism, sexism. You know, it's not just black and white. There are many people struggling, struggling for roles. If you think that black, you know, male actors are having a problem, what about the females? They're having an even worse problem than we are. A harder time finding jobs than we do. So, I mean, it's much bigger than just Oscars So White, if you will.